So have you ever walked out of a coaching session feeling inspired, only to realize a week later that nothing really changed? Now, that is because insights, no matter how powerful, mean very little unless and until you are able to translate that into some sort of an action. So today I want to share with you a simple 3-step process and a tool that you can use to make sure every coaching conversation turns into a real life-changing, transformative action plan. Now, why does it matter? Well, think of it this way. If you don't put your learnings into action, it's like buying a gym membership and never stepping into the gym. The reason I thought about doing that is because I finished a conversation with one of my clients recently, and when I reconnected back with him for a review 2 weeks later, I realized that he had not done anything about it. So I was kind of surprised and also started to question my own ability to communicate expectations. But as we started to discuss, what dawned upon me was, even though these smart leaders, they work in an organization and they follow the same process of identifying what needs to be done, getting their priorities straight, and then just getting down to execution and doing it. But there is already a system that exists, and you become a part of that system and you just roll with that. So there is clarity. Unfortunately, in this case, when you are doing things of your own, you need to build that system for yourself. And many a time leaders, they struggle not with the insights, but because they don't have a clear structure to move from learning to execution. And that's what I thought was required. That's where the friction I found out. So here is a 3-step framework that works very well for you to establish a system for yourself, right? So let's start with that. So step 1, capture. After every session, write down everything that you have learned. Don't filter, don't judge, just capture it. And these days it's very easy for you to do that with those transcribing tools that you have got. So if it's okay with your coach, then you can just transcribe and capture everything. Now, glean insights. Now step back and ask yourself, what are the 2 or 3 actions that I need to take in the next 2 weeks? This is about distilling, turning concepts into tangible next steps. So this is where I use a framework called 131. What is that 131 framework? When you have done your session or learning session, either with a coach or on your own, spend just 5 minutes and put these 3 pieces of information on paper. 1, what is the one thing that you have learned from your exercise, either through a program or through your coaching session? What exactly was one thing that you took away from there? The next is, what are the 3 key insights that you glean from there, right? What are the 3 things that are very important? So for example, if I were to talk about the video that I'm doing it here, the one thing that I realized that people struggle to translate their insights into actions because they need inputs in terms of clearly establishing what needs to be done. What are the 3 things that I can offer? And this is exactly what I'm doing right now, is to articulate what is a 3-step process, right? Number 1, capture. Number 2, glean insights. Number 3, plan and review. Okay, so these are the 3 parts. So 1, 3, 1. And once you have got these 2 parts, the next one is, what is one action I can take to move things forward, to move the needle, to put that plan into action. Okay, so this is exactly where we are at this moment. That step number 3, put those actions into your calendar and the task system. Commit to doing them. So anything that gets scheduled gets done. So make sure that you give it enough importance to schedule it on your calendar. Find out one, and I would suggest to use one specific day and time in a week when you are going to do that. Suppose it is something that needs to be a behavior that you are trying to change, and you want to make sure that you do it throughout the day. maybe it's a good idea for you to put that into your calendar every single day, first thing in the morning when you are planning your day, that you remind yourself that today I'm going to make sure that I focus on this behavior. Just creating that awareness will ensure that you stick with the plan. Okay. Now, if you were to repeat this rhythm after every coaching session or after every learning session, you will create a ritual of execution. And that ritual is where the growth compounds. Now, I remember reading this book, Atomic Habits, and great example that James Clear gives is that, you know what, there is Olympians also do goal setting, and you and I, we also do goal setting. But what is the difference between an Olympian and regular folks is that Olympians, they have a system in place. They have a ritual, they have a rhythm, they have a system that works for them, that they follow and they execute for. And that exactly what he says, that sometimes it's not the goals that are so much more important than a system. So consistency is what I'm talking about. You need to be consistent with that, even if it is a small 1% change that you make every day. But that consistency is what we are talking about, a growth compounding through rituals and rhythm. Here is the kicker. We can use technology to our advantage. And I know all of us have started using AI to a smaller or a greater extent. But here is one methodology that can help you at least to become consistent in the way that you are executing the plans that you create for your own development and growth. Okay, so I recommend using Notebook LM. This is not a sponsored post. This is something that I use myself, and that is the reason I'm recommending it. This is a tool. If you are not familiar with it, it is from Google. Just search for it, Notebook LM. What is the difference? It's also an AI engine. What is the difference is that it searches the content that you feed it. Okay, it doesn't go out to the entire internet or just like ChatGPT. It will not give it its own interpretation. Whatever inputs that you give, it will generate insights from that input. So how do you use it? Well, every time that you have a coaching session, take the summary or the transcript from the conversation and feed it into Notebook LM. And once you have fed it, you can ask it a question, said, great, I've had this coaching session. Give me a briefing note from this coaching session. How do you recommend I put this insights into action? Or help me create an action plan for the next 1 week. And it will give you that. Now, you don't have to necessarily follow the entire thing the way it recommends, but it will be a great distillation of whatever that you have gone through during the session. The most interesting and powerful thing about this is every time that you feed this information into Notebook LM, you are training an AI engine for yourself that will continue to give you insight based on your condition and situation, not generic advice or to-do items. Okay, that is where I find it to be very powerful. It's as if you are training a coach of your own that will keep giving you whenever that you ask it. Here's the bottom line. Insights fade, but structured actions, they create transformation. If we understand this, I think we will be in a much better place and much more motivated to become consistent in the way that we focus on our own transformation that we have initiated. Okay, so capture, distill, plan, and review. These are the 4 steps that we need to do. Most of us are familiar with that, and use tools like Notebook LM to make the process smarter and easier. All right. So if you start doing this after every coaching session, you'll be amazed at how quickly your growth compounds and how naturally you step into the leader that you want to become. All right. So try this after your next coaching session and let me know what changes for you. And I will see you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.